I just made the most beautiful Monster Energy cowboy hat that I've ever made, and I absolutely hate it, and I'll tell you why. One of the processes that I have always done in the past is I have taken this label and peeled it off of the cardboard box, leaving this behind and only having the label, which is just paper thin. And in this case, it bit me in the butt because my prep work was like total shit. So just to give you guys a little bit of backstory of how I laid this design out, pay no attention to these lines. I'm trying to come up with a different design where it's a little bit different pitch in the front. But basically what I'll do is I've got my template with all my dimensions laid out. I know that this is going to be the front or the back, and these are the two sides. So I'll get a label and I try to figure out what is going to look the best on which side of the hat, whether it be there, or here. So for example, I've got these three sides covered, and I would just find another image that looked like this, put over here, and then that leaves me with this square in the top, which, as you can see on the hat, I used the cans. And so took the cans, cut those, and they fit almost perfectly in there. You know, of course, you would take the other section of the cans, match them up, blah blah blah, no big deal. But I used this thin sheet of poster board. I will adhere my image onto the poster board, and then for additional strength and sturdiness, I will put this onto an actual beer box. Not necessarily this one because it's not large enough, but I have a scrap pile of Budweiser boxes and stuff like that that I will add an extra layer. So let's count it. You got this layer and this layer, which are very, very thin. So add another box onto it, and it adds structural integrity to it. So once I got all that figured out and everything put on there, I started to lay out my design for the brim. And while making the brim, I tried to find images that were pretty much symmetrical. You know, I'd have the M's here, M in the front, M in the back, because with these box, I only have Monster logos everywhere. I don't like this stuff, so obviously that had to be cropped out. I had to take these and mend them together with this, cut out my nutritional information, scrap out the barcode, and try to find images that would fit on here without messing up the way I think it would look the best. So what I ended up doing was taking a logo that was about 6.5 inches wide here on the front, cropping in the can image on the side and on the back. Same deal here. You know, these are about 6.5 inches wide, and that laid out perfectly. On the bottom side, I took kind of almost the opposite. Instead of having the cans there, I took the Monster Energy logo and put on the sides. I put a can in the middle, you know, just basically trying to fit the logo on the hat in a way that it could be legible and, you know, kind of linear. I'm not sure how you say that, but one thing I found out is that as far as my prep work, my shitty prep work, the beer box that I used to put my label onto has a nice crease right here in the front, which of course is on the bottom. Nobody's going to see it, but I strive for perfection and I fell short on this. And you try to match up, you know, all the spots that you have to fill in. Like this is cropped in. I don't know how well the camera can pick it up, but that is definitely just a little triangle that I cropped in here, a triangle that I cropped in here. And when the hat folds this way, you get a perfect, it doesn't mess with the seam. Everything kind of holds together like that. But the one fault that I ended up finding is that the way that this hat is creased right here, because this label is so thin, it actually wrinkled it wrinkled the label. And another mistake that I made on the front was this line right here. I'm sure you can see that pretty good. The reason that line is right there is because these stubborn labels, I'm not sure if it's a manufacturing thing or depending on who makes the actual boxes for these companies, but you can see how it's really thin here. And then I still have extra material that can be peeled off, and I did not do that. I was kind of in a hurry. We got some things going on here at the house. We're doing some painting and stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna go out in the garage and work on a hat. Well, when I put my label down, I didn't account for the extra thickness, and it's not much. I swear it's not much, but apparently it's enough to notice, because there's a hard line right there, and really makes me disappointed. But it is what it is. So just to further talk about what else I've done with this hat and I don't like, is right here where I patched in the can on the two sides where the hat folds up. One thing I've noticed is that when these labels are forced in this direction, unlike on the back, they're forced apart, so it's going to be a nice flat surface. But when you're scrunching something up in this direction, you're forcing those two layers together, since there's a seam right there. If it were a solid piece all the way across, I don't think that it would be an issue. But however, I've had to scab in a couple pieces here just to continue the logo up towards the hat without having any kind of random designs in there. And in doing so, when I fold the hat up, it forces those two labels together, unlike if I would have just left them on the cardboard. I'm trying to work on something here where if you fold it this direction, you're going to get a good bend, you know, because the seam is going this way. But once you fold it this way, you get a crease right here. And that was my objective, is to avoid this crease by keeping a thin label here, so that when it bends, it would kind of go with the contour of the hat. But unfortunately, what I'm dealing with is the label pushing together. So I don't know how to fix it, and I'm kind of working on some things here. So I've got extra thick poster board. I'm leaving the label on the card, on the box. So I'll have a layer once I Super 77 these together. I'll have this layer, brim, and then an imaginary bottom layer of the brim. So we're dealing with 4 layers here now. We got 2 and 2, top layer of the brim, bottom layer. They'll match up like this. And once that they're got spray adhesive on it and I try to bend it up, will it crease? You know, I can see it there and I don't know how it's going to work. So alright, so after treating those two sides together and those two sides together, I'm going to mate these two. I'm going to use my new handy dandy roller with ball bearings in it to get a lot of pressure, because it has both supports versus my other one that finally gave out. But I think that if I get a good amount of pressure on this and make sure that the two are sealed together, when I bend my material up like this, I think that I can avoid having a severe crease. Oh, it's tricky, so tricky. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it or not, it's starting to develop just a little bit of a crease right here. But I'm going to try one more thing. I'm going to go grab my heat gun and see if that will affect anything. That looks pretty good. I don't know what to do, guys. Honestly, I don't know what to do. Seems like there's always going to be an issue trying to get it to just roll out. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do to remedy this problem. One thing that would definitely fix it is if I had a logo that was actually wide enough to cover all the way across the brim. Maybe it's a label issue. Obviously it's a maker issue, but I'm going to try remaking this hat. I do have some extra boxes. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 6. I'm going to remake the hat and see if I can come up with a different way to put the label on there without having to crease it. I know one thing that would probably solve it is if I left a little bit of a gap to accommodate for the two pieces coming together, and as you bend it up, then they would kind of fall in and meet. But I don't want to have a gap in my label when you're just looking at the hat when it's flat. So we'll see how it goes. Be sure to follow me on my Facebook page because I am giving this hat away. Since it's messed up, I don't want to just throw it away. I'm sure somebody out there can enjoy it. I was contacted through DM, so the guy's going to pay the shipping and just take the hat off my hands so it doesn't have to go in the trash, and we all get to learn from it. So be sure to check me out on my Facebook page, which is Headstrong Hats, and we'll see you guys next time with hopefully a better looking Monster Energy hat.